Good morning, everyone. It's a great pleasure to be here with all of you. Thanks to RAI for organizing this. I think it's an esteemed group of panelists, and the topic is very pertinent in today's day. It's interesting what speakers before me spoke about, that, on one hand, it's kind of contradictory that this seems to be India's decade. We meet international companies who are coming into India. The skepticism that used to be there maybe 10 years back or 5 years back about the ease of doing business in India, I think it's completely gone, and people are saying India is number one in terms of the overall investment map as far as choices between countries is concerned. On one hand, you see things like the entire evolution of demand and consumer. India is crossing now $2,500 per capita in terms of per capita GDP. And that, in many countries, has been seen as a great inflection point, which really unleashes a lot of discretionary consumption power. And that's reflecting in some ways in the kind of expenditure that we're seeing of retail in various categories. On the other hand, we moved from a very strict definition of offline retail towards a very multi-channel or omni-channel world. In the last 3 or 4 years, that's really got accentuated. And that's driving deeper and deeper penetration of products and also a level of democratization of different brands. There's so many 400, 500 crore companies that have just come up in the last few years. It creates a lot of competition as well for the incumbents, but at the same time, it expands the market. And then on top of that, if you add the fact that from a consumer perspective and from a supply and availability perspective, there's a lot of expansionary activity happening in offline as well as online channels. So this really sets the context overall, and when we talk about growth versus recession, I think there are both sides to it. There is a bit of a tepid environment right now. People are talking about inflation. Quarter 1 has not been the best for some businesses, both in the consumer sector as well as retail. And I think it'll be a great discussion with all of you to hear your views on how you're seeing the market. So my first question is really to Ashwin. Being at Reliance, and what's the view from the top, given the kind of scale, the kind of ambition, the kind of consolidation that you all are driving in the retail industry? What's really the view from the top? Is it investment? Is it cautious investment? Or is it a time to slow down and rethink the profitability metrics from a CFO lens?
I would think it is, I think always cautious investment is the right way of thinking about it. But definitely investment has to continue in terms of reaching more and more geographies, doing things in a better way. So whether it is expansion, so if you look at still India is in a very, very growing phase, and it is a lot of geography which is yet to be covered by everybody. So from a new entrant, when they would have started in Bangalore, they are first moving to 8 cities, and 8 to 25, 25 to 50, 100. For us, we are in thousands of cities, but still there are, when we count, we always look at from any new business, we continuously keep scaling. So our established businesses may be in about 8,000 cities. The next business which we acquire may not be in that many cities. So for growing that business, again, you have to reach it in so many places. So that requires a growth phase, and it becomes easier for us because we already have a presence in many of the cities. But when you look at, we always count it from the top 100 cities to then district headquarters, and then 7,000 census towns. And when you really look at the landscape beyond that, then towns which have 50,000 population, 20,000 population, and 6 lakh villages and towns is the total landscape of India. So if one has to really cover the entire population of India, which deserves good merchandise and a better improving quality of life, then always there is a headroom which is tremendous in terms of growth. Yes, when we do that, we have to be cautious and be present with the right kind of format and offering for that particular geography, what it demands, and not take the wrong format or the wrong investment decision. But when taken right decision, I think it is rewarding, and it spans across the way of offering for the customer, which has to be judiciously decided. So I would go with your second option of cautious investment, and not just growth for the sake of setting up a place and then deciding that, oh, we are in a wrong place.
Thank you. Anand, your views from a very value retail perspective, how are you seeing this phase of the next year or two pan out for your business?
So I would totally subscribe to what Ashwini just said. I think it's a phase of growth. Obviously, every growth, every investment plan has to be very carefully be vetted. Obviously, there are cyclical pressures, there are challenges, especially in the last 3 years, first 2 years because of COVID, and then post-COVID. Things have definitely been not as rosy as one would have imagined, but definitely the landscape in which we live and the opportunity at hand, considering the fact that more than 80% of retail still is in the unorganized sector. And there is a fast transgression which is happening from unorganized to organized. So I think there's still a lot of opportunity, and especially given the fact that the GDP and the per capita income is bound to grow from the current levels. I think the age of discretionary spend has just begun. So careful investment, cautious investment, but definitely investments and expansion is what I see. There will be a lot of opportunities for the right players, for the right kind of products, for the right consumer sets. One has to really keep in mind also the disruption which is going to come in from digital side. So you have to be very innovative, you have to be very agile in terms of what you really want to do. But yes, opportunity is there, and for the right players and for the right investment decisions, there will always be good returns.
Thank you. Arun, what are your views? You're playing in the premium and premium end of fashion, and it's not been a very consistently happy story across the years for premium fashion in the country. What's the thought process right now? It seems like the discretionary spending is increasing. There's a lot more takers for, I would say, premium fashion. How do you see the outlook going forward?
Morning, everyone. So I just had a tooth extraction a couple of days back. So now I realize what a toothless CFO will be. I'm sure in the regulatory space, people will talk on it. See, on a premium space, obviously, that market is still there. It's good. It's still growing. And as the growth happens, the GDP grows everywhere. So the people aspire to go to the next level. So there is good space in the premium. There's a good space in the value. So the issue, what we are seeing is the middle. So at the middle level, as you said, Q1, even Q4 was bad. So at a middle level, there is a challenge for, at least in the fashion space. Since the festive last year, there has been a slowdown. But in a premium one, obviously, there are markets which are opening up. So it's no longer, the metros, which are the markets which are there for the premium category to open your store. So, markets like Chandigarh, markets like Ahmedabad, markets like Hyderabad. So they all have opened up. So these markets are there, and there are enough buyers in those markets also to cater to the premium space. But as said by Ashwin and Anand, it's again, we have to take the cautious path. It's not yet opened up fully. You can't open a retail outlet for a small set of customers who anyway today have an option to go online and then shop. So markets are opening up, but again, you'll have to be very cautious, select those markets, see where, the potential is available, and then expand. So premium, there is anywhere demand. That's what I would say.
Great. But just one point here that, being CFOs and really the conscience of all the companies and the money and the cash flow, I'm sure this is a pretty predictable answer that it has to be cautious. I didn't expect you to say, drop all caution and go for growth. But how do you really balance this whole competitive pressure that's coming in from many of the startups and emerging brands who are perhaps showing less caution than established businesses like yours? And how do you make sure you're not missing the bus? Maybe if any of you, Girdhar, if you would like to take that. How do you play in this whole space when there's a lot of money getting burned by new age companies, and yet you have to keep your place and share with the customer?
Yeah, it's a very interesting question. And you see, the point is, yes, there is a lot of free money available, which is being burnt on the customer. But what is important is for you to look at the customer and take care of your customer. Keep him happy, okay? Not only with the price, but also with your product and services. Constantly, you have to be ahead of the curve in terms of the product and what you offer. And I think it's an easy formula, I would say, to keep the customer with you for a long time to come.
Great. Thank you. And Kaushal, question for you. I think there are a lot of people in different types of retail here, but you're a specialized footwear brand. How's the footwear market really shaping up? I see a lot of excitement there, the whole growth of casual wear, which is actually reflective of all of this discretionary spending, higher social engagement, and the whole youngster group, which is really consuming a lot. How do you see this playing out? Are you also seeing some sort of a slowdown, or is it very strong growth?
First of all, good morning, everyone. Angshuman, I think in our sector we have seen very strong growth coming through. In terms of, if I was to dissect, what changed in last 5-7 years, if I have to quickly list down changes that happened in last 5-7 years that we have seen, first and foremost that comes in my mind is, the surge of e-commerce sales, especially starting 2017 onwards. Second is a noticeable shift in customer preference towards more versatile, comfortable footwear, and that's where this trend of casualization, sneakerization, as we are seeing currently. Third key trend, what we are seeing is premiumization. Customers are always looking out for slightly better product, slightly pricier product, slightly aspirational brands. So that's a constant thing that customers are looking for. Fourth important one, trend if I have to see, is sustainability. I think customers are becoming more and more cautious on the overall environmental concerns, and obviously now it is in fact starting to impact their purchase decisions, So if I have to say, this is what we've seen evolving over last 5-7 years. If I have to say over next 5-10 years, it's going to be even more interesting. I think all these 4 trends that we're seeing currently are only going to get more profound as we sort of move ahead. Apart from that, a few pointers that comes to my mind, I think technology integration, being in footwear, I'm just giving an example, if you anyone coming out with a smart shoe, which has that, interactive tracking feature, or say customize comfort setting for the customer, I'm sure the customers are ready to look at that company. So any company that innovates would not face recession at all. Second important trend is customization and personalization. Gone are the days where you introduce something which fits everyone. Those days are gone. Customers are increasingly preferring brands which give them more personalized, customized offering, so to say. Omnichannel presence, I think in future, if you are looking for good growth, a good blend of offline, online presence is what customers would be looking for. They expect, in fact, brands to be omnipresent. Wherever they buy, whatever they do, brands needs to be omnipresent. And then the last trend, is overall health and wellness. I'm being very specific to footwear as a sector, but these are trends that we are seeing. For us, it's focus on growth. We always plan long term, but being a CFO, as you said, slightly cautious with slight tweaking adjustment for short-term trends that you keep seeing.
You make a very interesting point because generally when we talk investment, the natural connotation of that investment is towards opening stores. or putting in working capital. But what you're saying is, even as retailers, there is a whole component of investment around innovation and bringing the right products to the customers. I think you also touched upon the whole omni-channel point, and I think at this point in time, Girdhar, a question for you here is that what rules in the whole fashion and lifestyle world have changed, and what are some of the key takeaways and evolving responsibilities of CFOs in a multi-channel world, which has its complexities in terms of different unit economics, profitability metrics, and yet, it's a very strong growth channel. So what's changed in terms of how you manage the business?
Yeah, so as we all know, omni-channel is the way to go. And I think the business models have to be tweaked in a manner that we service the customer. Even if you have a single piece available anywhere in the country, you make it available to the customer. What is also important is the speed and the delivery of the service. Also important is what you offer, the freshness of the product. Because most omni-channel players would also stock a long range of tail, which could be a lot of old season merchandise. So I mean, as a business, if you focus on the freshness, I think it can be a great winner. Inventory capital management, as I said, I mean, if there is a endless aisle, you should work on it. I mean, not to proliferate the stock too much across the country, and make sure it is available at the right stocking points. A lot of data can be used to ensure where do you stock and how fast, where are your buying patterns, where are your customers, and hence how do you stock them. What is also important is we never lose sight of the return management. It is a very integral and key component of the omni business. It's very important that we get the stock back and refurbish or refinish and put it back on the shelf. That's also very important. In terms of key takeaways, efficient working capital, focus on costs, both the forward and the return leg, including what you pay for the storage and how long you pay that. At some point, you also need to take a call that it is not moving and you need to flush it out, rather than just keep the cost going in your all this will lead to very focused drive on profitability, I would say, and which is where I mean most of us will be very proud of if we achieve all this.
Great. Arun, your views? And I think one of the related questions is that while we're talking omni-channel, right, there's also a term called connected commerce. How are these channels integrating, and how do you see these integrate? And obviously the profitability and return on capital that you're talking about will happen when there is a sort of a connectivity between these channels so that you can interplay them. But as I see it, it's quite disparate still. I mean, different plays, e-commerce operating separately as a channel. There's offline, there's MBOs, EBOs, and stuff like that. So do you also see that playing a part in terms of connecting these channels, keeping the customer at the center in the next 4 or 5 years as the way forward towards profitability? Any
See, it's changing now. With the marketplace model coming in, it's now getting much easier. And as Girdhar said, it's the profitability is much higher, because earlier you used to have stock scattered across the different locations. So today it's a marketplace model, you integrate it everywhere. So I have a particular inventory, it's exposed across maybe all the e-commerce websites. It's also the company-owned websites, plus also the inventory lying at the stores is also exposed as a part of the Omni. And the endless aisle also helps in terms of covering up the lost sale. So if you put together everything, as a fashion retailer, the sell-through is very important, where you get your profitability. So you ensure that even the last piece is somewhere exposed to any customer anywhere, rather than physically lying in one location. And that helps in terms of maximizing your returns. So if I have to put in a manner where I say that, okay, there's a piece lying in a store in, say, Linking Road, that stock can be bought by a customer sitting in Delhi as well. So because that's exposed as a part of your entire Omni inventory in your websites, maybe in your partner websites. Anybody places an order, you get dispatched, so that I try to get the last piece out, and I'm able to realize that. Because otherwise, selling it at a discount, obviously it's going to impact your profitability. So that profitability piece is sorted. one more point which he added and what he said on the endless aisle is also is that, whatever is a customer coming in, you're not able to have the inventory through the endless aisle. You're able to service the customer from any other location which is there. So all putting together is like you're ensuring that, I'm trying to milk whatever is possible so there's no lost sales. All those are converted into sales. So this is where your connected commerce comes into play, that everything is interlinked somewhere.
Great. And Ashwin, question for you. I think if you could, there's so much of technology investment, so many new things being explored by your group. What are 2 to 3 ways in which technology and digitization have changed the way retail expansion in the future is going to play out? I think you mentioned endless aisles, but I'm also prodding you towards identification of locations. How do you get the right location mix, have a better hit rate in terms of the right location, lesser closures, and how does digitization, technology, the whole connected commerce model play out in the future to make better and more accurate decisions on some of these investments?
See, what happens is that technology always keeps evolving, and we keep adding the way in which the systems help us in decision making. So with artificial intelligence and machine learning now, earlier what used to be very difficult becomes very easy, and it becomes far more precise and informed. So a few years ago, we would be very happy with data just coming out. So our sales data or our inventory data and ratios of that would come out, and we would feel very happy that something has come out, and you have some kind of a basis to take decisions. Now those models have become more predictive and more supportive in terms of giving you the right answer straight away. So when you have thousands of stores and thousands and thousands of SKUs, from an assortment point of view, what you really keep in your store really becomes very supportive, because the combinations can be so many that it is impossible for humans to decipher and take out data and then process it out. And not everybody is as proficient in decision making. So the best retailer will give a different answer who has got many more years of experience, and a person who is new will have a different thought process. Somebody will use a judgment and gut feeling and all of that. But when the system is doing it with the today's tools, and as things are very progressively changing very fast, the answers are becoming more precise, and in terms of the right location is one part of it. Actually, that is one-time decision still, that you're putting the location. But really, I would think that the planning of the assortment and the pricing and the customer connect, all these 3 things, the combination of all these playing together, the assortment, its pricing, and what makes sense to which customer in which geography, all these 3, if they are really done very well with the right kind of the system, then obviously it gives a very, very superlative answer. So it will really cut out the wrong decisions. It will improve profitability, working capital investment, everything becomes that much more helpful. And that is one piece of it when it comes to decision making of the business. The other part of it is the technology is enabling interaction with the customer in a very, very different way. So the conversational commerce or the conversational support, in terms of every organization is having chatbot, and in some way or the other, starting with a chatbot, and now we are moving towards, and we are working towards the digital assistant, who actually interacts in a voice-assisted manner to really propose to the customer what really the customer wants, to record what the customer is really wanting to buy, and then relay to the retailer what the customer. So this conversational commerce linked with the retail technology really is the next step which is going to happen. And we will see it happen in a very short time, because keying in and really being digitally savvy is something which is putting a lot of commerce away from a large part of the Indian population. If it becomes conversational in terms of the native language of the customer, the answers are very, very encouraging is what is coming out, but it has some research work still to do. And obviously the prototypes have come out, and maybe next time when we meet, we'll have some success stories on that.
Thank you. Anand, what are your views? Are the dots really joining? I think data has been there. There's customer database, there's loyalty, there's e-commerce sales data. There's so much data that the system is throwing up. Are the dots starting to join, and is there a conscious effort and investment to join these dots and make it a more efficient play between the channels and the customer?
No, absolutely. I think it's not just about the dots getting joined, it's more about the intent now getting more clearer, because as more tools and services become available for all strata of retailers, or just not the resourceful few, but because of the general availability of so much of tools, I think it's become far more easier and far more convenient for all kinds of, traders or businessmen to start using some of these for, their advantage. And it's not just about the customer side of things. I think I'll just add on to what Ashwini said. All aspects of the retail trade are undergoing significant amount of change. So whether it is from sourcing or warehousing, or as you said, location decision making, or even the look and feel of the store, the visual merchandising, the product design, how you select the product, which product has to go to which store. All of this is now very aptly supported with so much of data predictive analytics that it is genuinely, very, very efficient. And it's not just made the business, more cost effective, but I think from the consumer lens also, it has made the whole offering far more conducive and more searchable, more discoverable. And that is where the agility and the innovation of individual business houses will come into play, where more agile, more resourceful, or more technological savvy retail houses will definitely have much upper hand. And that is where also the disruption from the new upstarts will come into play, whether it is in the digital domain or in the offline domain as well. So the omni-channel or the omni will not come only from the consumer side, but will also come from the supplier side. So more retailers who are able to play between the two of choosing what to sell online, what to sell offline, and connected businesses in between, is then going to make the entire thing very, very different and very, very cost effective. From a consumer lens, I think the consumer is also changing, and as businesses are getting more access to tools, the consumer is also getting a lot more savvier and far more educated. He also has a lot more options today than just going to a mall and looking at one store. It's a plethora of choices for him, and he's extremely well informed, whether by himself or by digital assistants. There is far more information, far more awareness, far more education now available for him to choose and to make a much more informed choice. So the business of tomorrow is definitely not going to remain the same. There is a lot which is going to get changed, and a lot which will require the businesses also to, think about how they need to change to not just remain relevant, but also be successful in this connected world.
Great. And Kaushal, question for you. There's widespread acknowledgement amongst all the panel members that the future of retail is different from what we've seen in the last decade. Are these still being seen as, by the CFO, an investment or a cost? How are you looking at all these digital investments that are required to build for the future on your every year P&L? Is this still being looked at as something which would sort of erode the profitability on the short term? Or is there a pool of capital that is getting set aside completely, saying that, we need to invest in all of this to really reap the benefits a few years down?
I think certainly is seen as an investment, because if you don't see it that way, you will be lagging behind. Just sharing to what Ashwini and Anand mentioned, just few examples, of technology and digitization, the benefit that they are bringing in. Few years down the line, few years back, growth was only opening stores. Now it's completely different. As we discussed, Omnichannel, and how can you cater to your customer in a much better way. Okay, so with this virtual models been available wherein customer can virtually try the product even before buying it. A retailer like us can effectively have a virtual showroom without investing a single penny, where the customer can go and actually browse the products. Okay, with AI and data analytics, it is enabling business to offer much more personalized offerings to the customers. Nowadays we also see gamification coming in, that sort of makes the overall experience much more interactive and engaging from the customer point of view. So if you just connect the dot, it's gone are the days where customer will come to your stores and buy the product. Obviously, it still remains 90% of our business. But what we see is going, 10 years down the line, it's going to be a healthy blend of omni-channel experience, which includes offline, online, and taking benefits of all these digital means that are available. It's going to completely revolutionize the way in which we see store expansion, or we see expanding our business. It's going to just change in 360 degree, I would say.
And if I were to just push you towards some numbers on this, how have you seen the digital investments or spending, maybe as just an indicator of percentage of sales or some number go up and over the last 5 years? Right? Has it really become meaningful in terms of the investment that's happening on technology?
Completely. So I'm just sharing an example. One is your tech investment and even your marketing investment. Pre-COVID, it used to be all offline. Now we see it moved 360 degree, and 90% of it is digital now. Okay, so that's the way in which you can connect the customer much better. You can effectively get your ROIs much better, and then that's how it's been.
So you are getting the returns on the investment, because it's not a very high margin business, retailing, and if you have to incur all these costs to build a future business model, it has to get paid back in some sort, either right now or over the next few years. So are you witnessing that?
Yes, completely. And effectively, it's like, if it's adding those percentage points to your like-to-like growth. That's the way to maybe see it. This customer you were completely missing. Now with this investment, you are getting those customers, which is effectively adding to your like-to-like growth, which is essential for any retail business or operations.
Girdhar, question for you. What do you think are going to be like 2-3 drivers of profitable growth in the next 1 or 2 years in this industry?
Yeah, thanks. Before that, I will just like to add to what Kaushal said. I mean, technology, digitization, analytics, they are now part of the recipe. I mean, it's impossible to, think of doing a business without some of these, right? So it's basically par for course to invest. Okay, sometimes, I mean, to be very honest, it pinches. Okay, but we have to look at slightly medium to long term and keep at it, because the way the world is going, there is no way we could do business without some of this. And coming to your point, to us, we are largely focusing on premiumization, very, very enhanced customer experience. What we are also seeing is that a lot of our customers are coming back to stores. Digital spends have plateaued. Okay, pre-COVID to post-COVID, I agree. I mean, it's still a 3 to 4x number. But, over the last 6 to 8 months, it has actually plateaued. So our focus has been on premiumization, enhance customer experience, upgrade the products, okay, service them well, and so on. which eventually leads to, better full price sell-throughs, L2Ls, and so on and so forth. What we are also cognizant is that, we surely in apparel industry, it's important for us to keep the cash cycle matched, okay, from the time the order is placed to received to sold. And, thanks to, the initiatives on MSME, a lot of our vendors are now becoming MSME. Okay, they're converting themselves to MSME, and hence, there is a currently a challenge on how to manage the cash cycle. It's very important for us. What is also important is a continuous focus on cost. And as CFOs, I would say, it's important part of our goals in KR is to have a PIP line in our goals, and which we need to drive, outside the budgets, outside the long-term goals and everything. So those are some of the things that we focus, and which eventually lead us to better ROCEs.
Great, thank you. Arun, do you see that the same future growth or the same quantum of growth in the future will be achieved by a similar number of stores, or do you see stores playing a much smaller role in terms of driving growth in the future?
See, in the immediate future, maybe the stores will still play a role, but long term, and if you see the genesis of the last 4 or 5 years, the percentage of online sales is on the rise always. Still, as Kaushal said, 90% maybe still may come from, the offline. Somebody is about 80%, but what I see is that it's going to grow and it is going to increase. So investment in digital is required. And if you ask me, if you miss the bus, then you're somewhere. It's like, Nokia missing the smartphone market. So it is there. You have to invest in digital. And if you see in terms of the profitability, in terms of the ROIs, the digitals give a much better ROI, because as get into AI, ML, everything, you also figure out the customer to whom you have to do a marketing rather than a carpet bombing. So that helps in terms of getting your ROIs better. But in a long term, obviously it's going to be a healthy mix. You see people who have started off as online players now opening offline stores as well. So it's going to be a mix, and at least maybe the next couple of decades, I'm not seeing an offline getting lesser than the online, at least in the fashion space. But because still we have the touch and feel, but Generation Z, we really don't know how they are. We don't understand them much better. So it might take a while for online to be much higher than the offline, but at least for me, maybe till 2035, 2040, offline will be much higher than online.
Great, thank you. And Ashwin, question for you with the scale that you manage, right? How can digital and technology really improve the working capital cycle? Because I think that's absolutely the lifeline of a retail business in terms of what Girdhar also talked about, the cash flow cycle as such, right? So margins are what they are. Channels, I know, are expanding, and the expectation is a lot of, SOR or credit, and it may not be for you, but for many other brands which are getting into the market. So the credit cycle is only getting extended, and with all these channels coming up, there's more proliferation of products, SKUs, channels, markets, and where we are heading is an increase in the overall working capital cycle rather than decrease, and that obviously on a constant margin scenario is depleting in terms of the return, shareholder returns. How do you see technology play a role in terms of really making all of this much more efficient?
I think the previous question, which I also answered, was the same actually, that technology is at the heart of everything. And if you want to be just buyers and sellers, then it is going to be no different than what it was in 18th century, 19th century. We have to be today's retailers, organized retailers. Technology is what differentiates us, and it differentiates us from a small shop, small kirana. So if we really look at technology now, at what stage of what technology one retailer wants to embrace, it is really depending upon their appetite to take the cost and then get a return from that, because if we try to load the cost of the particular investment onto the product and the sales are less, then the cost will remain as cost, and we may try to treat it as investment, but really that investment also, the cash has gone out from your pocket in the initial stage itself. And by the time, if it doesn't paying it back in the period, then obviously by the time new technology will come, somebody else will move on with a better thing, and then we are left behind. So really speaking, what technology suits what particular piece of the business and type of the business, type of the product is something which one needs to really think before investing. But there are certain things which are, analytics tools and the connectivity with the customer, the ability to market to the customer in a seamless manner, plugging into third-party platforms. Obviously, they are there to make money, so all of them are going to charge when you go to third-party platforms for technology, or even on a SaaS basis or on plug-and-play basis. So the cost which is really affordable for the business is what becomes important, but technology is at the core. If we are not using technology, it is not possible to manage scale. It is not possible to do business efficiently. And when we say technology can be really in terms of one side analytics, another side connecting, the third side can be very simple things like cognitive technology, which if you have to look at how is your store really organized, you put some cameras and really they are constantly observing and telling you where is the flaw in the right, what good looks like type of a display. And it alerts your store manager and the store team, and then you reduce the really, I think, overheads on that basis for doing very mundane jobs actually. And the answer over there is also efficiency from the customer point of view and from your operations point of view. And many things like logistics planning, your total inventory which should be kept in terms of the predictive situation, the inventory which can be offered to multiple channels and the same inventory being used, what was already talked on this panel. So these are things which are very, very, one must say, very priceless. And since this is the CFO forum, I think the control of our money, material and cash, money when we say investment and cash, what is being collected. If technology is not there, I think nothing can be done. We'll be just writing books of accounts on registers, which is not what we are in this age for. So I think the answer is that yes, technology is extremely important, with a judicious balance of how much you spend and with a cautious thought on the return and the need for it for your business.
Great. All right, I think we're ending the session, or nearing the time to end the session. Maybe what I could do is for the next few minutes take some questions from the audience for our esteemed panel, if there are.
Hi. Sorry, am I audible? Yeah. So how do you manage the unit economics in omnichannel, especially when a lot of the online sector channels are bleeding money versus your stores, which are basically subsidizing for those, the profits of the stores are subsidizing for the bleeding in the online channels? Like, how do you basically manage the unit economics of both the channels accordingly?
Sorry, the question is for?
I'm sorry, anyone, especially any of the guests who can answer.
See, when you start a new channel, obviously there's going to be some losses, right? So we'll have to manage that out. And what helps in omni-channel is you're realizing something out. At least you're able to sell the last piece out. And that's the one advantage which is there. So imagine what happens if you don't sell through the omni-channel. you left it, it remains over there, and then maybe you'll have to liquidate it at a much throwaway price. So somewhere it would take some time for the omni-channel to stabilize, but obviously as soon as you get the volume, because today in our current situation that we have no questions asked returns across the board. So there are returns which ranges to 35–40%. So if there are events which are organized by the e-commerce players, the returns are also higher. So at that point of time, we don't have a choice but to take those returns. But obviously, I think over a period of time, this would stabilize. We would come to a situation where the returns are reduced, because again, there a lot of AI/ML is being worked where they profile the customers, basis the returns and everything. So cash on delivery is now not available for those customers who just buy it and return it. So those things are coming up. I think over a period of time, it would come to a stage where it will start giving money. Some players, yes, it still starts. It's a profitable venture, but obviously it will take a while to stabilize. And once it stabilizes, I'm sure that channel would also help in terms of your profitability. But you have to see it in a holistic perspective, not on a channel perspective, because when you see on channel perspective, it's lost. But on a holistic perspective, it also helps you to sell something out which is going to remain unsold in your retail outlets.
Thank you.
Any other question?
Hello. So when we speak about digital business, so what should we focus more on? The e-commerce own website sales or the marketplace sales?
Is that supposed to be an or and? That's also a possibility.
I think it's both. As Angshuman mentioned, it's not like focusing only on your digital own .com website or just focusing on marketplace. Eventually, over a longer period of time, I think all the brands would prefer that once the e-commerce market in India matures and evolves over a period of time, everyone would want higher sales to come from their own .com websites. But at this point in time, especially for us, at the stage where we are in, and at the stage where e-commerce evolution is in India, it's focused on both.
Yeah, I would also tend to agree with what he says. I mean, it is not that this is or that is more important. I think it has to be equally focused on both the channels. Also important is how the market and what are the big market trends, right? So that is also very important. I think in times to come, probably own.com could become bigger, but as of now, I mean, there are other channels which have a bigger say in the market.
All right, I think there may be more questions, but maybe we can take them on the break. So great discussion. Thank you, everyone. I think the verdict is pretty much out. There is growth, cautious approach towards investment. There is a lot of tech investments that will drive the future of retail. The consumer is changing, but it's a promising outlook over the next decade. Thank you very much. It's been great speaking to all of you, and thanks RAI for this opportunity.